Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in here really quickly to let you know about the Unlimited Client Attraction Challenge. Now, this is for those entrepreneurs and leaders that are looking to attract and convert prospects into your ideal clients in 6 days or less. Me and my business partner, Beata Chalet, we're going to give you 4 simple strategies which is not designed to make you feel overwhelmed, but it's designed to help you guys increase your authority, your impact, but more importantly, your income. It is the challenge. They are strategies that a lot of thought leaders and experts are using right now that are working in this current market. You need to be on the challenge if you're looking to drive and convert lots and lots of prospects into your ideal clients. So listen, it runs February 23rd to February 28th, 2023. You can join practically for free, and it is the clientattractionchallenge.com. We're going to put all the links below. But listen, hope to see you there, and enjoy the podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live Game Changers Experience live show with myself, Adam Strong. And today we have another amazing guest here on the show, of course. I'm going to be joined very shortly with my good friend, Brad Hart. And I'll introduce Brad very shortly. And, it's really interesting because we've had some great conversations offline. And, one thing I love about these conversations is just to have free-flowing conversations, build great human connection. But for you guys that are listening in, you get a great treat because it's like a masterclass on steroids. Do you know what I'm saying? For you guys that are unable to listen to the video, for you guys that are listening to the podcast, right, make sure that you check out all the show description notes below and any relevant links as well that you feel will be relevant. Now, let me introduce our great guest for today. His name is called Brad Hart, and Brad is an entrepreneur. He's a 2 times best-selling author, and he's what I call a mastermind mentor, okay? Now, Brad is a founding member of the Knowledge Broker Blueprint, which was commissioned by or run by Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. Now, they basically created a self-educated movement, if you like, based around helping leaders and entrepreneurs about how to launch their own mastermind. Now, Brad himself has built and helped build several companies in the past, and anything from and he's got massive, extensive experience in property and real estate, investments, marketing, branding, sales, and peak performance. So, today's conversation is all based around how you guys can effectively monetize, market, and lead your own high-level mastermind. Now, what are some of the things that we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about some of the mindset blockages that a lot of you guys, that if you're interested in learning about, launching your own mastermind, a lot of the reasons why a lot of people fail to, get it off the ground is because of the mindset. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. I think there's a really crucial importance around that. Secondly, we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the most effective strategies that Brad has used with his clients with regards to marketing, because I feel like, marketing plays a very important role in launching a really high-level mastermind. We're going to be talking a little bit about pricing as well, because I feel like, there's a lot of masterminds out there, but where a lot of people get it wrong is the pricing structure. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about how to create that USP, because what we're finding, or what I've found in the past, especially recently, is that there's been this upsurge of masterminds that are out there. But the big problem is that then you've got to create this kind of unique selling proposition. How is your mastermind going to stand out? So I'm going to be talking about that with Brad, and we're going to have some great conversations. So just before we get started, guys, do me a favor. If you're listening to me live, use the hashtag live, or if you're listening to the replay, use the hashtag replay. What I love about these conversations is you get the opportunity to ask any real live questions. So that's kind of, like I said, it's like a mastermind on steroids, right? Or a masterclass on steroids. Do me a favor. Please connect with Brad over on social media. We'll put all the links below and any relevant giveaways and stuff like that. So listen, without further ado, put your hands together for Mr. Brad Hart.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Adam. It's a pleasure to be introduced in such a A wonderful format. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you're listening live, hit us up in the comments with a hashtag live. If you're catching the replay, hit us up with a hashtag replay. And I'm going to be dropping some value bombs, some knowledge, some tried and true wisdom. We'll go practical and tactical here. Let me scoot over so you can see me a little bit better if you're watching the video. Adam, thank you for having us on, and I really appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here.
No worries. And it's interesting because we share, so it's interesting. It's such a small world, Brad, because we got introduced through our good friend, Mr. Nick Bradley, of course. So shout out to Mr. Nick Bradley, right? And he has an awesome podcast, #1 in the UK, of course. But Brad, listen, we're catching up with him, right? So just wanted to let you know, okay? I just wanted to let, but also
banging on the door, Nick. Banging on the door. Better watch out.
That door, right? So he's probably listening to us right now, anyways. That's all good.
Quaking,
but we also
quaking in his boots.
you know that he's gonna be crapping his pants. Trust me, he's gonna be crapping his pants. Anyway, I know that also we also have another really good friend, Mr. Jay Facette, over in Canada, and you guys are business partners, right?
That's right. So Jay and I have a really fun story. I'll tell you the quick version. I attended the gift on the invite of his former business partner, Joshua Hayward. They were working together at the time, and they'd done a bunch of events. They invited me to the gift, which is his personal development seminar. He has been the Canadian partner in Lifebook for a very long time, 30 plus years. So Jay's got a long history of training, speaking, authorship, all that great stuff. And then I went, after that event, I really had a great experience. So I went to this other one called Mastermind to Millions. And I had been a part of Masterminds before that, but that was the first event where it unlocked in me the idea of, oh, I can actually help create masterminds that can serve other people. I can not have to be the expert. I can increase my impact and income in less time. And as a result of that event, actually, this is worth telling the whole story because it's going to give people a lot of ground. As a result of that event, I met a guy at the VIP reception beforehand. His name was Michael Quinn. And Michael was an expert in Amazon. He had been to Bali, spent 6 months with his family building this little cool business. And I was asking him about it. I'm like, tell me about what you're up to. He's like, oh yeah, I make like $100 grand a month selling salt and pepper shakers and cat tunnels and weird shit on Amazon. I'm like, that's amazing. I'm like, how much you work? He's like, oh, about 5 hours a week. I'm like, so you wait a second. You got this whole business that makes $1 million plus a year. It provides for your whole family, and you work about 5 hours a week. He's like, yeah. I'm like, show me your ways, oh guru, right? So naturally, he's like, well, I could coach you. It'll cost $30,000. I say, all right, well, I could pay $30,000, but let me ask you, do you have other people that want to learn this from you? So he said, yeah, of course. I'm like, do they all have 30 grand? He's like, nope, they sure don't. And even if they did, I asked him to follow up, would you want to coach all of them individually? He says, no. I said, aha, I think we might have a solution for this. I'll come in, I'll be your partner. I'll help run the mastermind. We'll split the revenue. We'll go, he always went to China and Hong Kong and different trade shows around the world. We'll go to China and Hong Kong. We'll show people around. We'll show them how to source products. We'll train them on the way up so that they're ready to go when they hit the ground, and they'll be able to build things off the back end. So fast forward 3 weeks after that, I believe, we had 35 people who had paid money to come to China and Hong Kong with us. We ended up, after however many months, we finally went, 52 people ended up coming with us to China and Hong Kong. And here's the cool part. So I went from, hey, I'm going to get coach one-on-one by this guy who's done it before, which is great. But now I'm getting paid for the opportunity to go. I'm putting money in my pocket. My trip is paid for. All my expenses are paid for. 50 people came with us, and they had a way better experience because they were able to ask smarter questions than I would have asked. They were able to take better notes. They were able to connect with each other and build relationships that have stood the test of time. So what became maybe $1 million opportunity for me became $100 million opportunity for everybody. And I got to be the hero, right? And we got to extract all that amazing knowledge from Michael and his team and put it into effect. The story doesn't stop there. I ended up meeting 2 business partners afterwards, decided to launch my own Amazon marketing agency instead of going the Amazon route myself so I could learn more about the algorithm and the platform. We ended up 10Xing a few people's businesses. We got them up to the top of Amazon in Europe and the UK and the US. It was really, really wonderful. And that business went from 0 to $75,000 recurring per month in about 6 months. I ended up exiting that business, and it's just been a really awesome experience, because had I never done the mastermind thing, had I never thought about the mastermind, had I never been to Mastermind to Millions, had I never followed Jay's advice, I would have done it the old-fashioned way. Maybe I would have got some results, but nothing like what I got when I did it with the mastermind. So now, zoom out, what is this, like 5, 6, 7 years later? I'm actually partnered with Jay because we were in Cabo recently, and I went to one of his little small intimate events called JVology. It's kind of like a little mastermind for JVs, joint venture partners. And I'm like, hey, whatever happened to Mastermind of Millions? I love that event. I was gushing about all this crazy stuff that happened. He's like, well, once Joshua left to go climb mountains and do his thing, I decided not to run it anymore. And I've just been kind of looking for somebody to run some of the back end and fulfillment and things like that. That's not my genius. Like, he wants to show up and shine. He's been doing it a long time. He's already figured it out. I don't want to figure out how to do an event. I don't want to figure out how to put 300 people in a room by myself. I don't want to have to figure out how to sell. I don't want to have to figure out all that stuff. So why don't we create a partnership where I'll do the back end stuff that you don't want to do, and you do the front end stuff, and we'll leverage your brand that you've already built. You've done 8 of these events. You've got the people. You can plug it all in. It's rinse and repeat. We'll do all that together, and we'll be a partnership. So we struck a deal, handshake agreement, and we just went and said, hey, let's go do this. And we've been promoting this event called Mastermind of Millions. It's in March, 23rd to 26th in Phoenix, Arizona, because Calgary's way too freaking cold. I've been there. It's 26 below. And people ask me, is that Celsius or Fahrenheit? I said, it doesn't matter. It's 26 below. It's cold, right? So we're going to Phoenix in March, and I'd love for y'all to come visit and see us and go VIP, hang out with us. You can check out the tickets. They're at mastermindofmillions.live. And seeing as we are live and it's the end of the month, they're about to go up tomorrow. So you get the best price today if you lock it in today. So no pressure, no rush, but check your calendar, March 23rd to 26th. If you want to learn from me and my mentor, who together we have 50 years of experience, we've launched probably 100 masterminds. We've helped people launch thousands of masterminds. I got a best-selling book on the topic, yada, 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 yada. Go to mastermindofmillions.live. Check it out. We hope to see you there in Phoenix. We'd love to have you. That'll be the fastest, quick start way to get this off the ground that I can think of. So we'd love to have you involved. Anyway, that's a long story to explain how the origin story of me and Jay came to be. And now we're working together. So it's a pretty cool thing. Looking back on it, it feels like a fairy tale, like to be able to walk into that room knowing almost nothing to now 7 years later, working together as equals is fucking awesome. And I'm excited for what we're going to create together.
It's interesting because Jay was introduced to me through a mutual friend of ours called Sammy Blendell. I don't know if you know Sammy, but she's an absolute rock star. And I know that myself and Jay have collaborated on a couple of projects. I think he's even been, I'm pretty certain he's been here on the podcast as well. But I think it was like, I don't know, maybe it was like episode 20. We're like 220 now. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but I absolutely agree with you on that. I think he, his extensive business experience is just like second to none. Do you know what I'm saying? So, kudos to you, my friend. Love it. Some good stuff. Love the story. So, all right, let's jump into this, because for me, what I love about these conversations is deep dive and that kind of stuff. So in fact, let's talk about this, because, I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. There's a lot of business leaders, business owners that are looking to potentially, launch their own mastermind, right? You've done it, been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. And so you must have had like, I don't know, thousands upon thousands of conversations. And I guess it takes the right type of person to launch a mastermind, I guess, in a way. But also, I suppose from your perspective, do you ever have those conversations where, I don't know, it might be because of imposter syndrome, it might be because they don't have the confidence, maybe it's lack of knowledge, I don't know. How do you get around that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And this comes up again and again and again. And really what we're talking about is 3 things. I'll kind of break them down real fast.
Sure.
So first thing is that there's 3 things everybody says once they finally rip the Band-Aid off and start their mastermind. Number 1, I wish I did this sooner. Number 2, it went better than I thought it was going to. And number 3, I can't believe how great it went. So let's start with the end in mind. You're at the end of your mastermind. Let's just visualize this. You got 8, 12, 15, 20 people in the room, whatever it is. You've done an amazing job. Everybody's clapping. Everybody's excited. Everybody made a new friend or multiple new friends. Everybody struck a new deal. Everybody got clarity on their challenges. And you were a freaking rock star. You got to connect. You got to be the leader of the tribe. You got to have that influence and creation. But that doesn't happen unless you get out of your own way.
Yep. Agreed on
that. Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, we got an opportunity to mastermind once. And she told me something that hit me square between the eyes years ago. I was at a Mavericks event with Yannick Silver. And she said, if you're focused just on yourself, you're going to make like 75 grand a year. If you're focused on you and your family, maybe 150, 200 a year. If you're focused on you, your family, your community, maybe you're up to 500. But if you want to make millions and billions, she's a billionaire, self-made, you have to have a vision that encompasses that many people. And she's not selling rocket ships, guys. She's selling footy pajamas where they cut the footies off, right? That keep people looking slim, and it's more to it than that. I'm sure. I'm just saying it's not the most complex thing in the world, but she had a vision that encompasses more larger than herself. And it's the same with impact, right? If you're only caring about yourself, if you're only paying attention to yourself, your own needs, your own fears, your own trepidations, your own imposter syndrome, which, by the way, imposter syndrome is a good thing. It means you have a soul. It means you have a conscience. It means you're not a sociopath. So, the fact that you desire to want to not screw people, to want to over deliver, to want to be the best that you possibly can be, that's a good thing. Hold on to that, harness that so that you can become world-class and keep working to do that. And then finally, the third thing, remember I said there's going to be three things: confidence and evidence are like chicken and the egg, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, it feels like you need confidence to go out and take action to get evidence. But how can you have confidence if you haven't gotten the evidence that you can be successful and actually help people and build a mastermind? Well, there's a way to do it. It's called borrowing confidence. You work with a mentor, you work with 2 mentors, you work with 5 mentors, you work with however many mentors it takes to borrow the confidence, because they have the evidence and they have the track record, so that you can take the action because they're saying, hey, I've already figured this out. This is what works. Just go do it, until such time as you get the evidence yourself. And then you ultimately bring your own confidence, right? It's a self-generating upward spiral at that point. But if you never start, if you never find the mentor, if you never borrow the evidence or the confidence and get moving, you're always going to be stuck in that chicken and the egg. You're always going to be starting from ground zero.
Are there any other, from experience, are there any other sort of thought processes that kind of inhibit people from getting started that you've found in conversations?
Yeah. And that's an ego thing. Like, it's a little bit of an ego death, right? Everything I'm describing requires you to put aside your notion of yourself, your ego, your identity, which are powerful forces in the human psyche. The most powerful force is identity. People will do crazy things to stay consistent with their identity. The reality is, if you already were the person who could have the things that you want, create the impact you want to have, make the money you want to make, you'd already have them. You'd have those things. Those things would already be happening. The fact is, there's some gap between where you are and where you need to be. And it's not because you're bad or wrong or terrible or whatever. It's just because you haven't yet grown into that person. So you have to hold a clear vision of that outcome you want, and then trust that God, the universe, the flying spaghetti monster, whoever, is going to give you the challenges and the opportunities to grow into that person. And they're going to show up like problems. They're going to show up like challenges, and they're going to be forcing you to grow, sometimes very painfully, into that person. But if you never make those transitions, if every time you desire something and visualize it and do the law of attraction, but then don't couple it with the law of get off your ass and take action and actually close that gap, you're never going to you're not going to rise. You're not going to step into the person who can have those things. And this can take years. I just want to be clear, like, becoming the person you were meant to be, there's levels to this game, and it goes on forever, and new level, new devil, new dragons to slay. But you can get there if you stay to it. And I'm a function of that. Like 7 years ago, I wasn't anything to Jay Fizzette, and now we're more mentor equal. He was mentor and I was mentee, and now we're more equal. And he taught me everything he knew, and I went out and made it my own and did the work and built it and worked with hundreds of clients and launched it and won the awards and built the relationships. And now I have value to add as well, right? But I did it one step at a time. It wasn't, go to sleep for 7 years and play video games and hope for the best. It was actively engaging every single day and flirting with the line of what I was capable of, and leaving it all on the field time and time again, and winning and losing and failing and somewhere in between, learning and adjusting and communicating, having hard conversations. Like, life is on those margins. That's where the excitement is. So if you're not willing to jump into the fray, if you're just going to stand on the sidelines, then you might as well not start. But if you are willing to do that, we're here to support you, because that's what this world needs more than anything else. It's not people living some comfortable existence and then dying. It's people willing to push their bounds of what's possible so that they can make a bigger impact in the world.
Love that. Some good stuff. Hard hitting points there, guys. If you're listening to us live, by the way, and we're streaming through LinkedIn Live and on YouTube, do me a favor. If you love some of our conversations and you love some of the conversations and some of the questions that we're firing in and deep diving, do me a favor, hit that bell notification, which is the top right-hand corner of my profile picture, and you'll be able to do that. I want to kind of like jump in here, because one thing that I've noticed is this kind of like increase or influx of kind of mastermind groups that are beginning to kind of like, spring up and things like that. So I guess my next real question is, as the market begins to sort of, flood a little bit with mastermind groups, people are beginning to take the opportunity that's out there because they see it as a great opportunity. And there's a lot of, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and so forth out there. How does one stand out from one group to another? How do you create that USP, that kind of makes you unique to the marketplace?
Yeah. And that's a hard question to ask a beginner because they just don't have anything they don't have context for that question. What's a USP, right? It's a unique selling proposition. Well, what's that? Okay. Well, we go back into Zig Ziglar and we can talk about that whole story, but really what we're talking about here is what makes you different than everybody else. And why would people buy your mastermind versus everybody else's mastermind? Okay. Well, maybe there's no good reason why right now, but that's great. You know why? Because it gives you an opportunity to go create one. And here's the truth. The God honest truth is you can create something that nobody else can create because you are a unique individual with unique stories, unique experiences, unique networks, and unique connections, unique capabilities that nobody else has the same combination of within the planet and never will and never has again. It's just the truth, right? So Adam Strong's mastermind is going to look different than Brad Hart's mastermind. Not because one is better than the other, but because we're different people with different backgrounds and different experiences, different outcomes, et cetera, et cetera. So by the nature of that, people are craving intimacy. They're craving leadership. They're craving somebody to step up and be an unlikely leader, to borrow a turn of phrase from Jay, that's going to step up and say, I'm here to lead, not because of all the great shit I've done, but despite all the shit that's happened to me, despite all the failures, despite all the heartaches, despite all the traumas, despite all the divorces and the bankruptcies and the blah, 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 blah. Insert your shit here. That's the exact thing that people think, oh, I'm not qualified to lead, which makes you exactly the person who's qualified to lead, provided you own it, provided you pull the lessons from it. You're creating incredible stories from it that are inspiring. You learn how to do that. And we help you draw that out of you, right? Because everybody has gold. Everybody has gold under their floorboards, I like to say. And people forget that what you've been through to get to this point where you are alive as a human being in 2023 and thriving, the fact that you are above ground today and breathing air and drinking water and eating food makes you way better off than many, 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 many other people, and puts you in a highly qualified position to lead because you got here somehow. Let's extract that wisdom and now make it palatable, actionable, practical, tactical for other people to do as well. In addition to that, it doesn't have to be your solution. I just want to be really clear about this. In order to run a mastermind, all you have to do is take ownership over the outcomes that people set forth. And that requires you to understand how to facilitate and get clear, which you can read about in my book, and we'll talk about that in a second. That's really the main thing is clarity. Because if people are clear on what the hell is actually going on with them, they'll usually solve their own issues. Have you ever noticed that? Like when somebody really understands what's actually going on in the clear, logical, reasonable light of day, they can't ignore it and they usually solve it. They don't need any extra help. But in the rare case when somebody does need help, well, you go to a mentor or you solve it yourself, or you make suggestions, or you walk them towards the solution, or somebody in the group offers it, or you have experts come in that can solve it. But your job is to really get people clear in a mastermind. And if you can do that, then that's most of the value. That's 80% of the game is won right there. But here's where people get off the rails is they start to think, oh, I need to coddle people, or I need to be a hard ass, or I need to be X, Y, and Z. I've got 10,000 hours facilitating. Nobody is served by you pulling punches. Nobody is served by you not saying what's on your mind. Nobody is served by you not asking the hard question of anybody. Because the reason they're stuck is because they're in a story. Everybody's in a story. It's how we make sense of the world. There's nothing wrong with being in a story. But when that story is holding you back from seeing the reality that is in front of you, and therefore making solid action and move forward past it, and to improve that reality for yourself, for others, for the world, then that's a problem. That story needs to be broken down into facts, figures, numbers. It needs to be given shape. It needs to be given barriers. It needs to be given boundaries. Agreements need to be created. Communication needs to happen. And a new story needs to be created that's more empowering than the one that was keeping you stuck. Our whole job as entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurship is a lonely game. It's like wizard school, right? The rest of the world is monkeys. We're trying to be wizard school and be like Harry Potter. Our whole job, as Alex Sharfin would say, is to minimize pressure and noise and increase momentum. If we can do those things, we're in good shape. And momentum, it's not an end state. It's a consistency thing. over many, many years and decades. And we can accomplish much, but it takes time and consistency. So that's really is get clear, figure it out, take action, on to the next. And if we can do that for people, that's massive, massive, massive value. And then when you couple that with the accountability and support and loving touch of the group to hold you in that space through that, and to keep you accountable to what you said you would do, and to make sure your declarations of what you're going to intend are actually done in real life, like that's the real value of a mastermind. And that could be done at every level. You don't need thousands of people to do that. You need like 5, 6, 7, 8 people in a room. So anyone can get people in a room is my thing. And that's why I love starting with masterminds. It doesn't require you to have this huge overhead, this huge team, this huge list, this huge amount of influence. Can you get 5, 6, 7, 8 people to show up at your house on a day and invite them into an experience? That's a great place to start. Or on a Zoom call. That's a great place to start. I like in person personally. It's my preference, but however you got to do it, just get it off the ground. And again, you'll be one of those people. I wish I did this sooner. It went better than I thought. And I can't wait to do this again.
Love that. Some good stuff. And one thing that you spoken earlier about, you know, in order to create a really powerful mastermind, is you would call it the moderator. I call it more of a tribal leader, because effectively it's like you're building a tribe of raving fans, right? You're just facilitating and it's a bit like a composer orchestrating, you know, where the right notes come in and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean by that?
I do.
And from your perspective, what do you see as having or being able to develop the right qualities of a tribal leader or a great moderator, as we'd like to call it? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's one of those things, like we talk about the Eisenhower matrix of like conscious competence versus unconscious incompetence. And as you go through life, you have things that like you just don't know that you don't know. And then you have things that you know that you don't know. And then you have things that you know that you know. And you have things that are like you're really good at, but you're not really conscious of how you're good at it. And you couldn't necessarily explain it to others. So this is a great question in the sense like I'm going to dig deep and try to think of some things that I've developed over the years as leadership qualities that allow me to do what I do. But after 10,000 hours of doing it, I might not have a good sense, or you might be able to see them better than I can outside looking in. So let me make a suggestion first, and then I'll dive into those. Okay. I have 50 hot seats that I recorded for free, in addition to my cheat sheet and 101 questions to ask as a facilitator, and my book, which is free plus shipping. All of that's available for you at 8minutemastermind.com. That's 8minutemastermind.com. That's all free. Go check it out, and you'll get a good download of like what it takes to be a great facilitator, as well as the clarifying process and all my tools to run a hot seat, right? So that's thing one. Go check that out. But just off the top of my head, extemporaneously, I think humor is huge. Humor diffuses tension. Humor brings the fun in. Like one of my kind of scary dreams that I haven't really pursued because I haven't had time yet is stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedy. I absorb all the stand-up comedy I can do. And it makes you a funnier person. And funny people are considered smarter. They want to be hung out with more. People like having them around. I mean, I would rather just shoot the shit about nothing with somebody who's funny than talk about really highbrow topics with somebody who's not.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
humor, 100%, hands down, number one skill. If you can develop your humor, that's gonna rough out a lot of the smooth out a lot of the rough edges, so to speak. So that's thing one. Thing two is being courageous. And that doesn't mean being fearless. It's a different thing. It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It's feeling your gut be like, oh shit, I got to do that. And then doing it. And in the context of a hot seat, that's saying the thing that needs to be said. With love, with respect, with compassion, with a solution-oriented mindset, not just saying, hey, you suck and here's why. It's no, hey, you suck. We all suck sometimes. Here's why. And here's what we're going to do about it to get you on track. Right. And being fun about it and funny. Like that's what really works. And then finally, like there's just other little bits and pieces that kind of you pick up over time. Is like as a result of facilitating tens of thousands of hours of masterminds, and Jay could attest to this too, you just get good at a lot of stuff. Yeah. You get good at solving a lot of types of problems because people don't have business problems and relationship problems and health problems. They have life problems that show up in their health and their relationships and their business. And if you could just drill down to those things, you start to move a lot of big rocks without a lot of effort. So it's just understanding people are holistic. There are no compartments in their life, even if they believe there are. And once you can drill down to the core essence of what's going on, that gives you a lot of leverage to fix it.
Love it. Some good stuff. Love that. Very cool. Now, interestingly enough,
it made me think hard to really give you something. I'm glad you dug me in. And that's an example of a great question that leads to a great answer that leads to a breakthrough. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is kind of like our second real deep dive conversation, and that's what I love about podcasting, right? It's like you could get really deep with stuff with shit like this. You know what I mean? So, but I love this. This is some good stuff. One thing that came to my mind actually, and again, I'm a big fan of quality over quantity when it comes to masterminds, right? So from your perspective, how does one attract quality rather than going after quantity?
You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are.
That's it.
And as you grow, as you level up, as you slay your demons and your dragons, naturally more people will be gravitating towards you. And that's a double-edged sword, right? I always tell people I don't want to be Brad Pitt famous. I want to be Brad Hart famous. That's good enough. I don't want to have to walk down the street. Nobody leave me alone. That's too famous. And that's a one-sided relationship. Everybody thinks they have a relationship with Brad Pitt, but he doesn't know any of them. In fact, he even has facial blindness, which is a kind of funny joke that God played on him. Like, he's the most handsome person on the planet, can't recognize anybody, and he's mega famous. Holy shit. Right? I don't even want to be that famous, but Brad Hart famous has its own things. It's like a lot of people want to connect with me because they know I'm a generous giver, and they know I have a great network, and they know I've worked really hard to get where I am, and I have an audience, I have influence, and all these reasons. And I'm not king shit on Turd Mountain. Don't get me twisted, but compared to the average person, I have a lot to offer, and therefore I have influence. Because people can see that and people want that for themselves. And some of it's benevolent and some of it's Machiavellian, and that's all fine. I'm not here to cast aspersions on anybody. But that's a double-edged sword, right? So as you gain influence, as you gain attractiveness, as you gain capabilities that other people want, you have to find a way to set up boundaries that are effective. Because you would probably blow your brains out if you had my inbox, if you weren't ready for it. And I would probably blow my brains out if I had Brad Pitt's inbox. Like, there's levels to this game, right? So the way I deal with that is I have people around me that I trust, that I pay to keep the inbox where it needs to be. I set boundaries with people. I'm very clear and right to the point with my communication. It comes back to my ABCs. Great relationships have agreements, boundaries, and clear communication. If something feels off, I immediately address it, even if it feels painful. I'd prefer that. In fact, I've had a lot of nasty messages sent my way, like, oh, you shouldn't have said this and that, because they're trying to play drama and politics. And I'm cutting right to the core of it, because I don't have time for that shit. I just don't. And ultimately, everybody will be happier if we just get to the truth. Even if the truth hurts a little bit in the beginning, it's better than perpetuating a lie. Like,
true.
Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. I listen to a lot of Jordan Peterson, whether you like him or not. He's one of the top thinkers of our time, regardless of whether you agree with his outcomes. But he really truly focused on it, I think. And one of the things he talks about is like a totalitarian state is a state where everybody has to lie all the time, versus a completely free state is where everybody gets to play all the time. Yep. And there's a balance that needs to be struck, because human beings aren't one thing or the other. But at the end of the day, like, I'd prefer the latter versus the former. I'd prefer to move towards play and truth and openness and honesty and authenticity and vulnerability. Those are the values I espouse. So I have to live those values come heaven or hell, because the opposite is not acceptable to me. And not to make this a political argument, but it's the truth. Is like, that's how I deal with this issue, right? Is like, I just try to be as honest and truthful as I know how to be. And if I fuck up, I'm more than willing to apologize graciously and beg for forgiveness. But I'd rather beg for forgiveness than ask for permission to be who I am.
That's true.
That's freedom.
I'm a big believer of kind of, call it authenticity, call it what you want, but just be yourself, really.
Yeah.
That's kind of
what do you call it? Everybody's full of shit sometimes. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm never full of shit, but I'm always striving to be less full of shit. That's it.
Absolutely. But it's interesting, right? If I had a guest that came on, like if there was a guest that came on the podcast and I just felt that they were full of shit, I'd actually say, well, you're full of shit, right? I'll just kind of just tell you as it is. I'm very kind of like, I suppose it's the same for you. You just tell it as it is. There's no beating around the bush, right? If I
And this
like
is
you, I
something,
like you.
this is a muscle, guys. You got to build this muscle. I'm 37 years old. I've been building this muscle since my 20s. I was a little sniveling weasel for a long time. So I get it. Like, wherever you're at is cool. And I've grown a lot, and you can too. So that's all I'm trying to say.
Love it. Very cool. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, what can I say? For those guys that have maybe got a mastermind or are thinking about it, I think one of the things that comes up often is marketing, right? So how does one, what have you found the most effective marketing tactics with regards to attracting the right types of people into a mastermind from your perspective?
Yeah, great question. So again, you're going to attract what you are. So there's really no faking that. That's the fastest and most painful path to growth and success, is just to be the person that can have that success and attract those people. And that's a journey, right? More tactically and where you're at, marketing is a function of understanding and empathizing with people's situations and being able to articulate those situations and communicate those situations in a way that is at least equivalent to or better than they can articulate themselves and communicate themselves. Because that instantly creates rapport. When you, Adam, let's say we're having a conversation one-on-one. I know this is live, but let's say you and I are having a conversation and I can clearly listen, repeat back to you and articulate what you told me. We immediately have rapport because I'm somebody who gets you versus most of the people are just waiting for their turn to talk. So that's thing one, is just be able, great listener, a great communicator. And then ask some magic questions. Is like, any conversation you're in, this person already knows generally somewhat 80%, 90% of the time what they need. So just trust that and ask them a question such as, and I borrowed this from one of my mentors, AJ, shout out to him. Since you know yourself better than anybody else. So if I'm clear on where you're at and where you want to go, and you know yourself better than everybody else, what are the tools, the resources, and support that you need in order to make that reality? And let them tell you, and then build your mastermind to solve that, to provide those things. And that will give you way better results than anything else. And then as you do more of that, naturally, you will gather consistencies across multiple conversations. We call this market research, where you can begin to use that in your messaging and your marketing. You can use the specific tribal language, specific words to describe the specific pains, desires, hopes, doubts, fears, etc., that people have, and paint a better and brighter picture of the future so that they will take action to come talk to you. Because remember, everything's a narrative. Everything's a story. So you have to get great at like understanding story, narrative arc, and moving it forward. And I have to remind myself of this constantly. It's like, I can say the thing logically, but a story really lands. So you never want to make a point without a story. And you never want to have a story without a point. So the reason I led with a story in the very beginning is that you could understand where I'm coming from, where my journey was, where I started and where I ended up. Yep. As of this day, 2023, and it'll be a different story next year in 2024 and 2025. That's not because I'm lying to you. It's just because new shit has happened. new distinctions have happened, whatever. And I had such an allergic reaction to marketing when I first started marketing because I didn't understand that. I was just under the assumption, because I was a weak, weaselly, shitty person, that everybody out there was weak and shitty and weaselly and trying to get what they needed by taking advantage of other people. I didn't have the abundant mindset. I didn't have the understanding that all value is created by wealth. People say money's the root of all evil. What's the root of all money? Have you ever pondered that one? Right? It's like somebody's got to go up there and create something. And that's what we're here to do. And marketing is an extension of that, because you can create the best thing in the world, the best mastermind, the best whatever, the widget, whatever you got the best thing in the world. And if you can't tell anybody about it and you can't get anybody to come along and pay you money for it, it's useless. It's completely useless. It's worse than useless, because now there's other products out there in the marketplace that are worse than yours, that are better marketed, that are not getting, that are getting their day in the sun and not yours. And we all have a window. Like the best mastermind, the best offer, the best widget, the best iPhone has a window. Why do you think there's 16 iPhones, 15 or whatever they're doing now? It's because every year they got to update something or people won't buy it anymore. They got to stay just a little bit ahead. So think about it that way too. It's like, there's always room to grow. There's always room to improve. There's always room to iterate. You're never dead in the water if it doesn't work the first time. You learn from that and you keep moving.
Some great value bombs. Love that, Brad. Some good stuff. Interestingly enough, one thing that we haven't really talked about is deliverables and managing people's expectations of people that are in masterminds, because I feel like, you know, you might get like halfway through a program, and then you may have some disappointed members of the tribe or whatever it might be. And it's generally because, I don't know, whether it be a lack of misunderstanding or whatever it is. How have you, you know, if you've got maybe you've got like a poison apple. I wouldn't say that. Generally it can happen. I mean, not normally, but maybe when you're first getting started, you just want to try and get a few numbers on the belt, but then they may turn into a poison apple or someone toxic, or maybe like you've kind of been misguided in terms of your intuition. How do you, from your perspective, how do you manage those types of people and manage people's expectations so that people feel like they're getting not just value, because value is very subjective, right? How do you provide kind of wow experiences so that people don't become disappointed?
Yeah. And I think let's start this out with the baseline here, which is you want to try to under promise and over deliver.
Right.
But people, it's been statistically shown, as long as they get what they expected to get, they're happy. If they get anything more, they're thrilled, right? People have such low expectations these days that if you just make a target that's reasonable, that you can hit pretty much 99% of the time, and you have a way to guarantee it if it doesn't happen. So the conversation might go like this. It's like, hey, I'm starting a mastermind. It's a beta right now. It's a pilot program. It's not fleshed out. We haven't run it before. As such, here's the deal. I'm going to charge X in the future, call it $10,000. I don't know. Right now it's 1/2 X, so $5,000. And I'm going to give you twice as much individual attention than anybody will get in the future. In addition to that, you're going to be helping me work out the details as we build this out. You're going to help me work out the curriculum, all the bits and pieces that don't work. And you're going to tell me, and we're going to have consistent communication about that so that we build this to meet your outcomes. And we're defining those outcomes ahead of time. Those are clear agreements beforehand, right? And this is on me if it doesn't work out. So within 30 days, I'm giving you an out. I'll give you money back if it's not working. If we feel like we're not on track, I mean, how reasonable is that, right? It's like, we're going to build this together. There's no expectation it's perfect. We're going to make it great together. We're going to get your outcomes. If we don't get your outcomes, we're not on track, you hate it, I'll be happy to refund your money. And it's half of what people are going to spend in the future. And you're going to get twice as much of me as anybody will in the future.
Love that.
If you can't get people to enroll under those circumstances, there's something way off. There's something way off with the offer. There's something way off with what you're proposing to do. Nobody cares enough.
Yeah. And also, it's also kind of like highlighting, you know, have you answered the right questions? Because you've clearly said that in the previous question, right? Asking the right questions, which is the importance of communication and getting that kind of like understanding people's pain points, right? And
what do they care about? Like, some people care about one thing, some people care about the other thing. I might have a whole menu of shit, but if you don't care, if you're just like, no, I just want the steak, the rest of the menus are relevant to you. As soon as you find the item you want to order, great. The same thing with a mastermind. People give this whole crazy menu that's like a diner and a Thai food and a Greek gyro place and a, you know, and an Italian and this and that and the other thing. It's like, they don't care. They want the thing they want. So as long as you have that, everything else is kind of a bonus, or they don't care. So you just focus on the things they care about.
Love that. Love that. Some good stuff. Now, I know that we're coming towards sort of the end of our conversations, and I suppose my last question is all around pricing and being able, because I don't know about you, but you've probably come across this where, you know, maybe some people have already launched their mastermind, and you know for a fact that there's no way in a million years that they're going to be able to, you know, as you'd say, under promise and over deliver based on what their kind of ideology of like what they see as a top quality, or, you know, top quality mastermind. How does one kind of, you know, figure out the whole kind of pricing structure from your perspective?
Yeah, it's a great question and a terrible question, because it's really the last thing we should consider. And I'm going to channel Jay, grumpy old Jay, for a minute. I'm going to say this. And by the way, if you want to learn from grumpy old Jay and less grumpy, more optimistic Brad, I'm just making jokes. You can come on down to mastermindthemillions.live. 3.5 days in Phoenix. Come VIP, hang out with us. We're going to do some fun stuff. We're going to learn like 40 frameworks to launch your masterminds. But to answer this specific question, excuse me, it's really 4 things. It's not one thing. Pricing is the last consideration. So Jay talks about this at the event. It's PPSP. It's promise. What's the promise?
Yep.
We kind of talked about that. What's the outcome? What's the promise that we're going to deliver? Then the structure of that gets that promise. What's the structure that if you put that in place, that there's no question they'll get the outcome, unless there's nothing going on, right? They're just not a good fit. If they're willing to show up and do the work on themselves, which is what is required, then they will get that through that structure. The positioning of that structure and how you communicate it.
Yep.
Right. Because that's just as important as building the thing is how you communicate it. I think it's actually more important how you communicate it, because that's going to create the boundaries. That's going to create the system. That's going to create the structure. That's going to create the agreements. It's going to create all of it. And then finally, once all those three things are figured out, then the pricing makes sense to consider. But in a vacuum, without the positioning, without the promise, without the structure, charge $1, charge $1 million. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Right. It's just not relevant to the conversation yet.
Love it. And this is probably one of the reasons why I decided to leave that question to the very end, because I kind of like preempted that you were going to say that. So I just wanted to say that for full disclosure.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And you've been in the game, Adam, but there's people out there, millions and millions of them, billions of them, that have just never considered how to create their own product, their own service, their own mastermind, their own anything. And they're so focused on that, the creation aspect. And I'll just tell another quick story. In 2011, I launched my first online digital product. I bought the domain name for 10 years. I set up the LLC. I hired an actor. I did the thing. I built the scripts. I built the website. I hired a copywriter. Back then, it was actually not very easy to build websites. I spent $45,000 to launch a program where 5 people bought and 3 were funded.
Damn.
After 6 months of work and a lot of money.
Wow.
So I will never, ever do something like that again. And the reason was that I was afraid to get that early feedback. I was afraid to dig deep with people. I was afraid to ask questions. I was afraid to put myself out there. I wouldn't even be on the videos. I had an actor do the videos. Like, how out of integrity was I? Where I wasn't even willing to do that. So now 12 years later, I've launched hundreds of things using this process where I sell everything before I build it. Because if nobody's willing to give you money, like actually put money in your hands to build something, don't build it.
Right.
Don't build it. And don't waste your time on things that just are too hard. Find something easier to launch. It's better to waste 2 weeks on something than 2 years of your life thinking I got the idea. Another quick story. I met a guy in Boise once who built a device that nobody asked for, that he spent $500,000 on, lost his marriage, lost his house, lost all his shit, trying to build something nobody ever asked for that he couldn't sell. And now he's begging everybody to help him. And it's like, no, dude, no, don't build it in the first place. And I don't want to cast aspersions on him. He's not a bad dude. He's a great guy. It's just like everybody can fall into this trap if they're not clear and honest with themselves. So the faster you can get to no, the faster you can get to yes. But if you're not willing to go through no to get to yes, you're going to be set up for a lot of pain.
You know, I think that a lot of people have done that. I mean, even a lot of our listeners have done that. Even I'm guilty as charged to say that I think we've all done that one way, shape, or form. But I think it's what we learn from experiences like that, and kind of not gambling with $500,000 is probably going a bit overboard. But you know what? There are people out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I guarantee the shame and the blame and the guilt of all that is going to kill that person, if they let it, right? Or they can at any time say, no more, not another minute, not another second, not another dime. It's dead. It's over.
Yeah.
Start again. And it starts over, right? There's people who have come back from tens of millions of dollars in debt, bankrupt, et cetera, and they've built huge things that massively impacted the world, but they learned their damn lessons. That's the key.
That's true. That's true. Love it. Well, listen, for you guys that are listening in, I hope that you've enjoyed some of our conversations. What I would suggest you do, if you're listening to the live video or if you're listening to the podcast, please do me a favor, connect with Brad over on social media. We're going to put all his links below, by the way. And also check out some of the links that he'd mentioned. We're going to put those below as well, which is the 8-minute mastermind and some of the free tools that he's given you. And also to be able to check out Brad and Jay's Mastermind to Millions event over in Phoenix, Arizona at the end of March. So make sure you check that out as well. Because, and again, listen, these guys have I've known only Brad for a short period of time, but I've known Jay for a long period of time. And these guys, they're absolutely rocking it. So I just wanted to make sure that you check those guys out and whatever it might be. Brad, just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Adam. And guys, just my last little call to action here. If anything I said has resonated with you, find a way to get to this event. We're going to blow your freaking minds in 3 days. And it's just something that could change your life for the better forever. And the ripples and the domino effects of what you'll create and the people you'll impact and the people they'll impact. I've got a client started 4 years ago with me. Now has 600 clients of his own paid in his mastermind.
Wow.
I could tell you stories like that for 2 hours. I'm just saying, like, you have no idea what you can create when you just say yes to yourself. So, whatever it is, money, time, family, figure it out, convince the kids, convince the wife, convince the husband, make it happen. Get over here.
Absolutely.
We'll get you sorted out. We'll get you on track.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Listen, guys, hope you've enjoyed today's conversations. And as Brad had kind of mentioned, if anything did resonate with you, please do me a favor. And I would really gratefully appreciate this, is that if you could leave a 1 or a 5-star review over on Spotify or Apple. Obviously a 5-star review would be far much better, of course. But if anything resonates, if anything has resonated,
give me 1 star, it's fine.
Yeah, and if you get a 1 star, I'm gonna go to Brad and I'm gonna hunt him down. I'm gonna send my bodyguards over to his house.
Okay? I deserve it. I deserve it. You should.
But listen, guys, hope you've enjoyed today's show. Hopefully we'll see you guys on the next Game Changers experience. Take care. We'll see you soon. Cheers now.